Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. It's been a while since I've been on. Um, Life has been moving at the speed of time, so a lot of things have happened in the last month plus since I've been on. Still been grinding, still been going through stuff, and navigating through this thing called life. So decided to jump on today and just give you more motivation for the morning. Just got through walking 3 miles. Still been working out, even though I just came off surgery. That's happened since the last time we met. I had reconstructive wrist surgery on my left hand, which is my dominant hand. So now it's forcing me to try to do things right. And I'm left-handed, so that's going to be a little challenge. But initially, they thought it was a partial tear, um, and said it's something that happened years ago. And I just been kind of pushing through pain, but getting close to my retirement. I wanted to get it fixed before I got out of the Army. So they actually went in and they said it was a complete tear and it's had to do some reconstructive surgery. So I'll be in this about another month, and then I'll go through a few months of physical therapy to just try to get it back to a normal state. I guess it would be a new normal. You will lose some range of motion because what they had to do when they repaired the top ligament, they took some from the bottom to repair the top. So obviously you're going to lose some range of motion on there. My retirement, it got moved up. I was planning on retiring a little further out, and I got the word that they moved it up on me. So my official retirement date is going to be 30 June of 2022. So preparing for that transition and, getting the resume ready and getting things situated on that. Other things happened, I had started the 75 hard challenge and was doing good. The 75 hard challenge was 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. You got to read 10 pages in a book. You got to stick to a diet. You got to drink a gallon of water a day. And we were doing good on this. Me and the young lady that I'm dating. And one morning we were in Chicago. We were going for our morning workout. And she tripped and fell and broke her leg. So it's her left leg. So I guess that's the Lord telling us to get right. So I got my wrist in a cast, and she'll have her surgery next week for her leg. So been recovering, and I guess that's why I wanted to jump on today, because I know it's been a while, and I'm leaving you to the devices of other manipulating sources of information, and probably not going to give you the real that you need. So I decided not to say that I'm the only voice of reason, but I try to give you free information so you can live your life in a better, healthier, happier state, and learn from some of my mistakes, some of my missteps. They say the difference between a wise person and a smart person. Say a smart person will learn from their mistakes. So a wise person will learn from other people's mistakes. So I'm trying to make you wise. I was smart, so I had to go through and experience some things for myself. And then if you listen carefully, then you can pick up the wisdom. The other thing, I grew a beard. Since I've been off from work due to the surgery, I just haven't shaved in about 3 weeks. So some of my wisdom is showing, some of this gray hair in my beard. And who knows? After retirement, I may keep it and let it grow. I didn't think it was going to grow this fast in 3 weeks, but I do shave every day. I have shaved every day for the last 27 and a half, 28 years. So I knew I could grow hair. It's just I don't give it time to grow. I haven't in the last 27, 28 years. So when I finally conclude my military career, it'll be 28 and a half years. And that's a long time. So this transition is coming, and I know it's coming, and it's a mixture of different emotions. I want to be in a state of preparedness. So with this resume and just going through and just shaping out what I want to happen next. Because there's a saying out there that says life doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. And if you truly understand that, you can start manifesting what you want to come in life. So life doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. And what are you doing to shape your future to what you want it to be? So as I was reading this morning, and the scripture was talking about 2 words, and I think that's going to be the principal thing that I talk about in this video is discernment and discretion. I know we're on this no love, no hate, and eventually I think this may be the last video on this no love, no hate, and I'm going to get into a transition video because I want to document my journey of coming out of this 28-year career and then transitioning into something different. And you can watch it live. Well, I guess not live because I'm not, you can watch the pre-recorded version of me doing it live, but I want to definitely document the emotions, the feelings, because there's elements of nervousness, there's element, I won't say fear, but just it's not even really anxiety. I'm going to call it excitement because I manifest what I said. I'm excited about this transition and being able to shape my life into a new form. And yeah, it's an exciting time. And I'm not an emotionally person. Well, I can't say that because we're on this no love, no hate, because it's been an emotional journey. And sometimes, as I've been talking about in these videos, like if you don't get control of your emotions, someone else will. They can manipulate you with whatever you hate or whatever you love, and they can start pulling triggers. So you need to be able to pull back from some things and be at that neutral setting. And that's why when I read in scripture, it says, seek discernment as silver and its treasures. It's like discernment is key to really being in a emotionally healthy state. You got to be able to seek and have the freedom to understand the motives and stuff behind the things that's being introduced to your life. Because situations is just your classroom tests, just quizzes in life. Like the Most High has orchestrated life into a big classroom. I'm looking around, I'm sitting in a new environment, and I just like to know around what's in my surrounding. But the Most High has orchestrated this classroom for the most efficient way of teaching you a lesson. So you got to be able to discern the things that's coming into your life in situations. Are they pulling you backwards or are they pushing you forward? And you got to be able to have that discernment to be able to understand what this event is trying to teach you, because there's something that to be learned in everything you experience. And that's why I say life is not happening to you, it's happening because of you. What is your response to these things? Because you can't control the event. You can't manipulate and say, I'm only going to go through this, I'm only going to experience this. You're not in control of the events. That's the Most High's. He's orchestrating that lesson. Your only control is your response. So if you hate something, when something that's presented in that sphere of things that you dislike, there's an opportunity for you to be emotionally distraught about this thing that's happening. Or if you love something, there's people that will manipulate you to do things out of love. I was going through my counselor. I just got a new counselor, male counselor, and we've been talking about this next phase of my life and what I want out of a relationship. And I told him love is not enough. And he was like, what do you mean love is not enough? I said, love is not enough. He said, well, what do you need? I said, well, as a man, I need respect first, because if you don't respect me, then I can't feel love. No matter what actions or feelings that you have, my love language is respect. And then I explained to him, I said, chemistry. I got to be in union with somebody that's agreeable, that's, wants the same things that I want. And it's not like they got to be a mirror of me, but at the same time, I subscribe, if I'm in a relationship, I subscribe to the 51-49%. You're never getting 50-50 with me. Now, I'm going to give you 100% of who I am, but when it comes to voting in the direction and guidance of what I want to do in my life, nah, you don't get a 50-50 vote. If you can't convince me with your 49%, then you're going to have to, I got a 2% trump card. So that's what I want, is chemistry, someone that's trustworthy, loyal, and fun. I mean, I'm at a stage in my life where there's an opportunity for me to say, hey, I've done enough. Let me pull back and, just kind of take it easy. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people as they get later on in life. They lose their drive. They lose their ability to start pursuing things. We are pursuers. We are kings. We're not meant to be dormant. We're not meant to be just sit down and sit in the corner. There's a time and a place to rest and recuperate, because rest is important. But you got to spend your life out there living. That life is for the living. It's not for the sitting. It's not for the lazy. It's for you to be able to develop all that potential into realized talent before your time expires, because time is unforgiving. That's why it says life is moving at the speed of time. It doesn't slow down and wait for you to be ready. It doesn't slow down and wait for ideal situations. It doesn't slow down and wait for you to catch up with your emotions, for your experience, for your intellect. Life is going to go by whether you're ready or not. So if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So in discernment, you will be able to discern all the stuff that's being introduced to you. Like if you're not careful, and you're emotionally immature, like I have been for many years in my life, you can be extremely manipulated, and everybody's marketing for your attention. I mean, nobody wants you to think for yourself. Everybody wants to think for you. So if you're not careful, you'll be regurgitating other people's thought, and you won't ever venture off to really your analysis of what you think is right or wrong. You'll be just restating something as facts that you found on social media. You'll be regurgitating something that was tweeted, or something of that nature. Not only do you got to research, but more and more you need to research the researcher. Like, what is their motivation behind doing that? What is they trying to solicit? What emotion are they trying to invoke in you? And just off the top, as I was walking, I was like, man, you can tell what's really being pushed. You got actors, rappers, R&B singers that are men that are dressing like women. They're trying to blur those lines to make it more a socially norm for you to accept that. And it's not that I'm either for or against any particular way, but what I don't like is how people try to push things in a certain area to say this is acceptable. And if you deem that as unacceptable, you shouldn't be canceled because you don't like that. You should have the freedom to choose and be able to discern what is being pushed. I watch sports. Another thing, I watch sports, and now it seems like Vegas has taken over the art of entertainment in sports. Like, every sports center now is comparing their stats to what Vegas got. They pushing this fan duels and stuff for you to gamble and stuff of that nature. And if you're not careful, your passion towards your team or towards that sport could leave you broke. Leave you in a gambling debt where you just thinking your team going to win. So you're going to go put your hard-earned money on, let's say, college game, on some 19 and 20-year-olds that you think they're going to do this. And because Vegas, you could say, hey, yes, my team is Alabama, they're going to win. But they give you that plus or minus. They got to win by 18.5, and that 0.5 is something else. And so you thinking it's a clear lock, and you're going to go put $300, $400, $500 on there because you want to get a come up? Nah, you in for destruction. They're marketing that to you, so it's a social norm for you to feel like you can watch Sports Center and they can talk about the Vegas odds, and all of a sudden you think you wise enough to go and beat the giant. My thought about gambling, I learned this at a young age. I think I was like 22 or 23. I had just got out of the Army to go to college, and I started working at a job, Famous Footwear. And I remember I got paid, and I went to the casino, and I lost my whole check. And then I realized, man, I'm not good at gambling. I mean, I may dabble in blackjack in here and there, but it's going to be at my choosing. I'm not someone that's going to go and just sit and gamble my money away or bet this and bet that. I already consider it a loss. So I consider I lost $500. So when I go buy that PS5, I say, hey, I just lost at the casino. But now I got something to show for it, because nothing worse than losing your money and there's nothing tangible to show for it. You didn't get any benefit from it other than the thrill of just going out and the excitement of potentially winning something. So I consider it a loss. So if I lost 500, In my mind, I'm convincing myself, instead of go spend it at the casino, go buy your PS5, go do this and do something constructive with your money. But they're marketing it to you so it becomes normal. This vaccine stuff, and I'm just going through things that's really in the media nowadays. Um, and I'm not going to sit here and say you should be for the vaccine or against the vaccine, but I'm saying you should have your own rationale thoughts behind doing that. And after you got that information, you should be comfortable with your decision to get vaccinated or not to get vaccinated based off what your information has said. And be comfortable with that. Especially as young kings of the Most High, it never ceased to amaze me how people of faith have so little faith. You know, there's a saying out there saying that if your God is bigger than your problem, then there's no problem. But when your problem comes bigger than your God, then you got a big problem. So if you're a man of faith and you scared of this and you scared of that, then you need to increase your faith. I remember I was attending a church one day or one of these years, and I was getting ready to go to Afghanistan, and the pastor was telling me, it's like he was trying to preach fear to me, like, you're not scared that you may not never come back home, like, this is not a war for you to be in, this is not this. And I says, and I told him, I said, that same God you preach about on Sunday, it's not geographically restricted to this area. So the same God that's protecting you here, I believe it's the same God that's going to protect me over there. And it's just amazing how people can compartmentalize their God and say, like, still be in fear in one area of the life and then be in faith in another. You got to make up your mind. It's either fear or it's faith. And so this vaccine thing, if you're going to be vaccinated, it's okay to be vaccinated. And real talk, I'm vaccinated. So I'm not against vaccination, but I'm not against people making decisions not to do it either. I don't think you should be forcing anybody to do anything. They should have the ability to think for themselves. But with that ability comes consequences. You cannot expect to make a conscious decision about not doing something and then be mad about the consequences that come along with that. So if they tell you can't get on that plane because of this, or that you can't do this, then that's part of the consequences that you're going to have to equate into your decision matrix, and decide how to govern your life. If not being vaccinated is a big thing to you, then surrender everything that comes along with the benefits of being vaccinated. And if vaccinated is a big thing to you, then understand that you have done your place to get, participated in the vaccination, and that people may not choose to do that. So if you don't want to associate with those people, you ain't got to belittle them or make them feel bad. Get back in your faith and understand that God is the author and finisher of time. There's no one else that's going to decide when you expire. God has already had that date in mind. He already calculated the human element. So for you to be emotional about this or about that, then you're really saying you don't trust God. That's why when God spoke to Abraham, he said, go to a place that I will show you. He didn't give him a detailed map of what he was going to experience along the way or some of the setbacks. He just told him to go. So if you're going to be in faith, then you can't be in fear. And there's an acronym for fear. It says fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. So it gives you this false inputs, and you making emotional decisions and outputs based off that false input. So be careful about being emotionally manipulated. Things are not happening to you, they're happening because of you. Be able to discern every bit of information, even what I'm telling you now. Don't just accept it as true. Do your due diligence to go forward and thinking for yourself. I was reading the book, and it talked about the art of thinking. Thinking is an intentional process. There's thoughts in your head. So, I got a big head too. Many thoughts go through this head at any given time. When I'm walking, when I'm in school, when I'm at work, I daydream, and so many thoughts going through that head. Just because a thought is in this head doesn't mean I'm thinking. Just like You sitting in a car doesn't mean you're driving. It's not until you do some intentional actions. Like if you're sitting in the car, you got to put your foot on the brake, and you got to push the selector into drive, and then you got to press the gas to get some movement out of that car. And until you do those things, you're just sitting in the car. You're not driving. So the same with that thoughts that's going through your head. Until you grab a hold of that thought, and you might have to put your foot on some brakes and some things to hold up. Let me meditate. Let me pray on this a little more. And then there's going to come a time where you need to shift it in gear, and you need to take your foot off that brake and you need to put it on the gas and start moving. That's when you really begin to start thinking. And when you do that, there's so much freedom in there. That's why it's discretion. It says discretion is the freedom to be able to think about what's the best thing for that particular situation. It's just, that's where the discernment and discretion comes. It gives you that freedom to say, hold up, let me put the brake on this. Let me really think about it. Should I gamble my last check on FanDuels? I'm already short 300, but if I put that 300 and I lose it, then I'm gonna be short 600. You got to be able to put the brake on. It's like, oh no, that's not for me. Think about gambling. People in these gambling things. Like I said, I automatically think I'm going to lose. But the ones who are addicted, they automatically think they're going to win. And that's where they don't have that discernment to be able to pause and say, hold up, what happens if I lose this? They look at the positive. What happens if I double my money, if I hit it big, and then I'm going to go do this? That's why you notice the people who win the lottery, they don't keep that money long, because they didn't go through the process and the stages of how to get it and how to build it. So there's no shortcut to success. There's no get-rich-quick schemes. And once you become emotionally moved in a direction, that's your time to really assess. Don't regurgitate other people's thought. Don't never surrender your freedom to think for yourself, because there's so many things out there that's begging for your attention. They don't want you to think. And that's where these cell phones, they call them smartphones, and they call it, the abbreviated things, like it's shortcutting a lot of things out of your thought process. So you got to get to a point where you go slow enough to understand what you're doing. Because if you're just going with the speed of life, life is going to happen. It doesn't care that you have misinformation. It doesn't care that you believe the wrong thing. You're going to have to start thinking for yourself. So it's gone up over 23 minutes. I haven't meant to be on here this long. I just knew it had been a while. I am going to conclude this no love, no hate. This version of getting emotional control, emotional intelligence, not being manipulated to anything. Don't get to a point where you hate something. And be careful of loving anything with agape type love. The agape type love is that unconditional love. And a lot of people will try to manipulate it. If you love me, you would do this and you do that. That agape, and maybe, the Lord may give me a different revelation as I keep living. But that's for God. That's what God has to you. He has that unconditional love. But you may say that, everybody else is situational love. I know it sounds selfish, but it's reality. Not too many people are going to put up with you when you're down and out. That's why people walk past bums. The people that's, they can just walk past them because they can care less. And that's why people look up to the people who got the Gucci belt. Their feelings is emotional. They might not be willing to admit that because it seems so superficial and shallow. But people love out of convenience. People love out of, love is not a feeling. And I think it's one of the most overused words. So be careful what you hate. Be careful what you love. Think about everything. Process. Like God gave us a brain, and it talks about like we're only using like 10% of it. You're much smarter than what you give yourself. So start manifesting that. Start speaking things into existence. Like I'm gonna go long because I just had a train of thought when I was walking. Um, you got to understand something. When I say life is not happening to you, it's happening because of you. Start speaking things of life into existence. Like, my marriage ended, but I had been in a horrible marriage 25 years, and I had been praying for God for it to change. So I started speaking things into existence, and that change came as a result of divorce. I've been in the Army 28 years, and I haven't been content in there. I've been doing it because it's what I'm accustomed to doing. I was successful at it, but I've been wanting to change, and that change came through the vision of the moving up my retirement date. It's not happening to me. It's happening because of me. Because I had a conversation and I introduced that into the atmosphere, the Most High is going to circulate and make sure. And I don't control the timing. All these events that I just named was over a 20-year process. So speak something now that's going to bless you. Like, in this transition, I want 6 figures. I want the ability to have the freedom to dress as I please. I don't want to be in a uniform. I want to be free. I want to be able to use my mind, be able to be creative, and want to be, valued for what I have. So intellectually, more than physically. So start speaking those things into existence, and you're going to start creating ways, and things are going to change. You don't control the time that it happens, but your responsibility is to introduce it into the atmosphere. This last half of my life, because the first half is gone. This last half of my life is going to be the best half. The best is still yet to come, and I receive that. And your best is still yet to come. It's not happening to you. It's happening because of you. Start speaking those things, and when you speak those things, don't think this is a get rich quick scheme like God is going to do this and just automatic is going to happen. Situations and circumstances are going to start happening to you, and it may be less than desirable. It may come through the form of a breakup. It may be coming through the form of a loss of a job. It may be coming through the form of an injury or something that causes you to sit back and reflect. But those things are going to put you in a position to start lining up and get you in line with what is supposed to be for you. Because what's for you is for you. And make sure that what you're thinking about is your thoughts and not a regurgitated thought of somebody else thinking for you. Be well, young kings.